بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed, inshallah, today we will continue the chapter of al-Akhlaq, character or moral character. In the fiqh session, we will, inshallah, try to finish the funeral prayer, Salatul Janaza, and we will try to go over special cases, cases where, either ghusl is not indicated or ghusl and the funeral prayer are not indicated. We will try to cover those special cases, inshallah. First, Imam al-Harawi, rahimahullah, in his book Manazil As-Saa'ireen, said about the different levels of akhlaq, or the different levels within the station of akhlaq. And I will not repeat what we finished last time. It has been recorded, so if someone is interested in going back and listening to it, they can certainly do that. But then Imam al-Harawi started to talk about the different levels of akhlaq after he started with his definition and classification. And he said, الدرجة الأولى أن تعرف مقام الخلق وأنهم بأقدارهم مربوطون وفي طاقتهم محبوسون وعلى الحكم موقوفون. The first level is to know the place of the creations and that they are tied to their destinies and confined within their given capacities and bound by his decree. So in order for you, he will then talk about how do you have proper akhlaq, how do you have proper manners, how do you have proper character with the khalq and the khaliq, with the creations and the creator. And he'll certainly start by talking about how to have proper akhlaq with the khalq, with the creations. And he will focus on one aspect of this, the aspect of ihtimal al-adha, because which is basically tolerating their harm and being able to forgive and being able to extend kindness instead of revenge. And that is the aspect that he will particularly focus on. And as we said before, character is about two things. بذل المعروف, which is to extend kindness, وكف الأذى, and refrain from harm. These are the two things. And you need ilm and jud and sabr for this. You need awareness, and you need jud, which is liberality, and you need sabr, which is self-restraint, to be able to do this, to be able to do those two things, which are basically, the main ingredients of akhlaq, the two main ingredients of akhlaq. بذل المعروف, كف الأذى, extended kindness and refraining from harm. خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-A'raf. So he will talk now about your key to basically having proper manners with the khalq, with the people, with the creations. And this is your key. He says your iman and qadar, your iman that Allah is in control, your iman that they are not in control, will be the key to having proper akhlaq or proper manners, proper conduct with the creations. And ta'rif maqam al-khalq, to know the place of the creations. وَأَنَّهُمْ بِأَقْدَارِهِمْ مَرْبُوطُونَ, that they are tied to their destinies. They are tied to their destinies. They are like on a leash. They're tied to it. And they can't really run away from it. وَفِي طَاقَتِهِمْ مَحْبُوسُونَ, and they are confined within their given capacities. Taqa is what? Taqa is energy. Taqa is capacity. So no matter what you do, you're trying to reach your potential. That is true. But who gave you your potential? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who gave you that capacity? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who decides whether or not you will reach your potential? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the leash. So you're confined, you're within this confinement, and within this confinement you are on a leash. So understanding this, and وَعَلَى الْحُكْمِ مَوْقُوفُونَ, and they are bound by his decree. They're bound by his decree. فَتَسْتَفِيدَ بِهَذِهِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ ثَلَاثَةَ أَشْيَاء. then you will gain from this recognition, your knowing and realization of the place of the creations and their limitations. You will be able to benefit from this, or to gain from this, three things or three benefits. One, أمن الخلق منك حتى الكلب. أمن الخلق منك حتى الكلب. حتى الكلب here would be the best way to say it, but you know after حتى it could be منصوب or مجرور or مرفوع على الابتداء. مرفوع على الابتداء, and this is probably the best way to say it. So أمن الخلق منك حتى الكلب. So the creations feeling safe from you, even the dogs. Meaning حتى الكلب يأمن منك. Even the dogs will feel safe. ومحبة الخلق إياك, the creation's love of you. ونجاة الخلق بك, the creation's salvation through you. The creation's salvation through you. So once you've recognized that they are confined, that they are bound, and they are on a leash, tied to their destinies, you will, what will that cause you to feel towards them? Empathy, and you will find excuses for them because they are sort of tied to their destinies and they are confined within their fates. How does that not make you a fatalist or determinist? Would the criminals be punished in this case if they are bound by their destinies or tied to their destinies and confined within their given capacities? There are many things that need to be clarified here, and we have done some clarification in the past, so we will not repeat everything. But it is important that you ask yourself certain questions. One of the questions is this about me or it's about the society? And when it comes to your rights, you should be more forgiving. And when it comes to societal rights, a society that will allow criminality and that will allow transgression is a society that is doomed to destruction. So you're less forgiving. Yet the society will also punish the criminals and punish criminality, but the society will look into the root causes of criminality and whether there is whether the society is in some way responsible for the criminality of the criminals. And the society does not look at the criminals from the perspective of revenge. It is the society punishes them for deterrence, to protect them and protect people who are like them from their own vices, to deter them from their own vices. And that is the theory of punishment in Islam. It is not about revenge, it's about deterrence. And the society does look compassionately at them to some extent. In Islam, way before that Italian court decided, there was like a famous case last year in an Italian court. They said that thieves who steal to eat will not be punished if they steal to eat. In Islam, this is an established fact. The Hadd will be suspended if you are stealing to eat. In fact, we have a cutoff for the amount stolen, below which the Hadd will not be applied. Umar radiallahu anhu suspended the Hadd in Am al-Majaa, the year of famine. So it is not at all that the punishment of criminals in an Islamic society, in a virtuous society, is meant for revenge. It's meant for deterrence. It's meant for the greatest good for the greatest number. It's meant for this, well-being of the society at large. So you will consider that. You will consider if this is like an offense against you as an individual. It's an offense against the society. If the person did this out of, transient lapse of judgment, if the person did this out of ignorance, if the person did this out of reaction, sort of a reflexive action, or if the person is bent on evil, and there is a difference between the two. You will basically assess whether responding with firmness and assertiveness and some force is the best course of action, or with forgiveness and compassion and kindness is the best course of action to deter more evil or to prevent more evil. So there are many considerations. There are many considerations. But when it comes to you, particularly with people who have, wronged you out of, failure of judgment or some reaction to something that you may have said or may have done, some people that are not frequent offenders, some people that are not bent on evil, then you will be forgiving, and then you will find them excuses. And the most important excuse is the excuse of al-Qadr. You know that they have been sort of predetermined to do this or to act in this way or to react in this way. So that is the first mashhad. That's the first angle that you will look at this incident from. This is the first angle. So someone, slapped you on the face, or someone cursed you. Yeah, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said it is not just one angle that you will look from, it's 11 different angles. Sheikh mentioned the angle of qadr, and we can talk about this one angle forever, but the angle of qadr, when you look from the angle of qadr, you will have acceptance of the decree, even if it is your own sin, not someone else's sin. You will have acceptance of this sin in the sense of how it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that sense, that the origin of this, the one who decreed this, I committed a sin. Let's say, you didn't not slap me on the face, I slapped you on the face. I committed a sin. So how do I look at it? Do I hate this or do I like it? It depends on the perspective. If you are looking at it from the perspective that this was something that Allah had decreed before your creation, before the creation of the heavens and the earth, when it comes to Allah's knowledge, this particular incident has no beginning in His knowledge. So because Allah is eternal, Allah is beyond time, you cannot comprehend it, I can't comprehend it because we are, confined within time. But this particular incident, Allah decreed. So this is my sin. I will accept it. I will accept it. I will not say, why did you let me do this? Why, did you decree this for me? I will accept it as far as it comes from Him. I will reject it, and I will, hold myself accountable, and I will blame myself. Certainly, definitely, I will do all of this as far as this sin relates to me, not relates to Him. وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. Evil is not attributed to you. The Prophet ﷺ used to say this in his supplication to his Lord. And evil is not attributed to you. وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. This particular incident is good in His master plan. This particular evil is good as it relates to Him in His master plan. It is bad as it relates to me. You look a little bit surprised. This should not be surprising. This sin of mine is good in His master plan. Nothing He does or decrees is bad, because you cannot look at it in isolation from the rest of His master plan. This is part of the carpet, the ant in the carpet. This is part of the master design that you are unable to behold because you are the ant. How could the ant behold, the design of the carpet? So, as far as this sin relates to Him, it's good, and it is to be accepted. And as far as it relates to me, it is bad, it is evil, it's to be rejected, and you should hold yourself accountable, and you should blame yourself. Nafs al-lawama, reproaching soul. So, but this is mashhad wahid. This is one perspective, one angle that you'll look from, the angle of qadr, And so now we're talking about how looking at from the angle of qadr will make the people feel safe from you and will earn you the love of the people, and they also will earn salvation through you. through you after they had loved you. Ibn al-Qayyim said one angle that the Sheikh mentioned. There are 10 more angles that you need to look from when someone transgresses you, when someone oppresses you. There is the angle of rida. After the angle of qadar, there is the angle of rida. Because qadar means that it means mere acceptance. Rida means acceptance with pleasure. Acceptance with pleasure. Not only that you will accept it because this is what Allah decreed, you will accept it with pleasure because nothing that comes from Him is evil or bad as it relates to Him. It's part of, like I said, part of His master plan. So not only that you will have this acceptance of qadar, you will have also rida, you will have pleasure with it. The third one, and I know it is hard and it does require practice, and that is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to earn the knowledge that will empower us to do the work. The knowledge will not get you anywhere unless you do mujahada. You struggle against yourself and you do the work and you act upon this knowledge. But at least what we're trying to do here is trying to earn the knowledge and allow Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah to open the little crevices and recesses in our hearts and show us, shine some light on the darknesses within our hearts to show us how we can overcome our weaknesses and our failures. So you'll have this qadar, the mashhad of al-qadar, or you're looking from the angle of qadar, you're looking from the angle of rida, and you're looking from the angle of shukr, because keep in mind, if you were oppressed, you should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are not the oppressor. Because if you were to choose, if you are really wise, and you were to choose between being the oppressed or the oppressor, which one would you choose? Being the oppressed, right? Would you choose being the oppressor? Okay, you would certainly choose being the oppressed. So this transgression that happened, we were in a meeting, our organization, our Islamic organization, relief organization, with this organization, we were in a meeting and someone cursed me. And 2 days later, I think about it. And I am sort of reflecting on how unjust, unfair, aggressive he or she was. Then you say to yourself, alhamdulillah, you should be really grateful that you were not the aggressor. You were not the oppressor. You saved me from being the oppressor. What is the oppressed waiting for? Allah avenging them or rewarding them for their patience? What is the oppressor waiting for? The opposite. So this is an important mashhad. Mashhad is shukr ala ni'matillah azza wa jal. It is to be thankful and grateful. So qadar, rida, and shukr. Then there are 3 other mashahid that are interconnected. All of them you find in Surah Al-Imran, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And those who suppress with rage, forgive people, and Allah loves those who are kind or benevolent. Those extend kindness after this. So it is like 3 different levels. So كَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظ is مشهد الصبر, self-restraint. مشهد الصبر, self-restraint. So you want to look at it from the angle of self-restraint, being able now to demonstrate your ability to restrain yourself. And self-restraint there is another mashhad that is interconnected to this, which is khuluq al-shaja'a. It is the attribute of courage. Do you have enough courage to stand up to yourself now? Because yourself is whispering to you to avenge it, to retaliate for it on its behalf. And now, do you have the courage to stand up to yourself and suppress it? So sabr is an important mashhad. Then al-af, al-safh, al-hilm, this is all one mashhad. It is to pardon, to forgive, to show forbearance. Pardoning is another mashhad. You could show self-restraint, but you don't pardon. And the higher mashhad is to show safh, is to forgive. And then within this group, the highest would be ihsan. It's to extend kindness. It is to say, he did this to me, or he said that about me, I'll send him a gift or something, or I will hold myself from, abusing him or her, and I will instead extend kindness to them and show, more benevolence towards them. And then Imam al-Qayyim rahimahullah, so these are 6 different angles that you will look from, right? We said al-qadr, we said al-rida, which is pleasure, so showing pleasure. We said al-shukr, gratefulness. We said the 3 others, which is sabr, self-restraint. We said al-af, which is forgiving, and al-ihsan, which is kindness or benevolence. And then there are 2 that are somewhat related, which is al-amn wa salamat al-sadr. Al-amn is your own safety and your own security, because when you retaliate, they will also retaliate. We always we have sometimes this primitive way of thinking, reptilian way of reaction, retaliate, retaliate, retaliate. And then after some time, a couple of years, you've been doing this like some people do this with their spouses. Like it is all sort of a sequence of retaliation. And then we try to figure out who started it, and we can't really remember because it's been a couple of years or 20 years, and you've been retaliating against each other. You've been causing harm to each other, and it is like a vicious cycle. No one is trying to come back to their senses and say, well, if I stop, maybe we will be able to break through this cycle. So it is amn, it is your security, your safety from further harm. If you actually consider this, if you look at it from this angle, you will be able to show proper akhlaq concerning this particular incident that happened. The other thing is, it is not only about your external safety, it is also about your internal safety, which is salamatul sadr. Salamatul sadr, it is basically having inner peace. It is basically having no grudges, because holding grudges will harm you first, or hurt you first before it hurts anyone else. So if you want your own well-being, then just think about it. Think about, whether avenging yourself now is really the best course of action. So these are 2 that are interconnected. The 2 others that are, this is, you're getting close now to the end, is al-mujahada wa tawheed. Al-mujahada wa tawheed. Mashhad al-mujahada, it is this struggle against yourself. You will say to yourself, this is an opportunity. This person hurt me, but keep in mind, this person is بقدره مربوط وفي طاقته محبوس وعلى الحكم موقوف. He is tied to his destiny, confined within his capacity, given capacity, and he is bound by Allah's decree. So you will say to yourself, this person is simply like the wind, is simply like bad weather, simply like, this particular incident, this particular action by this particular person is simply like, a branch of a tree falling on top of your head, or a log or something falling on top of your head and causing you concussion or even breaking your skull. Right or wrong? To some extent, yes. This person is only a tool. This person has no might or power or influence or control by himself. This person is just like the branch of a tree that fell off on top of your head and caused you concussion. Like the wind, like viruses, like bacteria. Should you really be holding bacteria accountable Certainly, Allah will hold him accountable because he is a rational agent, and Allah will avenge you. But think about it for a moment that this person is, this particular incident comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yes, if it is evil as it relates to this person, it is not evil as it relates to your Lord, who is in complete control. Complete control. Once you have this feeling, you will have, particularly young people, have a lot of insecurity, have a lot of anxiety, because they think that I should be in control. And they don't really think that there is someone else in control, and you are not in control. You could do your best and do your best, but you are not in control at the end of the day. So al-mujahada is to say here that Allah, sent me this opportunity to struggle against myself. Now my struggle is not against my spouse, my business partner, my neighbor. My struggle is against myself, to stop it from aggression, or to stop it even from showing bad akhlaq or less than optimal akhlaq, suboptimal akhlaq, less than optimal akhlaq. And then the final mashhad or angle that you'll look from is the mashhad of tawheed. That is what Sheikh al-Harawi is all about, because tawheed in the lingo of many of the masters of the path or the Ahl al-Suluk is about fana, it's about annihilation. We're talking about all of this because you're still aware of yourself. You're still focused on yourself, and that is why you're feeling the pain of that incident. That is why you feel the humiliation from that incident, because you're still holding yourself at the center of your universe. But if you had already walked away, if it vanished, and if your focus is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you have been distracted from yourself, or yourself had already vanished, and all of your energy, all of your thoughts, all of your plans are by Allah and for Allah, by Allah and for Allah, then you would not be even here. We would not be talking about this. We would not be talking about self-restraint. We will not be talking about forgiveness, because in the first place, you are not consumed in yourself, and you're not busy about your own feelings, your own hurting, your own this or that, because you subsist by Allah and for Allah. So you look at it with complete impartiality. You look at the incident not from within you, not from the spectacles of your own ego, but you had already walked away from this ego, and you're looking at you and your adversary, or your spouse, or your neighbor from outside. And then you're judging this, and then you are concerned about what's the best course of action, what is the best course of action in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're looking only from the sight of Allah, not from your own perspective or your own egotistical perspective. Okay, so these are 11 different angles, right? No, 10. Okay, you're keeping count. And so what is the 11th? Because we're done. The 11th should be basically in your company throughout the 10 different mashahid, which is mashhad al-uswa, which is basically about the honorable role model. Who's your role model? When we talk about, in this particular incident here, when this incident happened, whom were you looking for, for a role model? Or you were looking for the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of all role models, and then the other role models that are, the Sahaba and so on, the other prophets and the Sahaba and so on. So who was your role model? The Prophet ﷺ. Did he ever avenge himself? He never did, as Aisha radiallahu anha said. So you're looking here at this incident as another opportunity to show that your true, real role model is Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's an opportunity. Now show us, who's your leader, who's your imam, who's your role model, who's your uswa. Okay, so having said this, now if you look at this incident from these 11 different angles, then this is what this will earn you. The creations feeling safe from you, even the dogs. All creations will feel safe from you. If they really know this about you and know from previous experience how you react, people will feel safe around you. And this is extremely important. How do people feel when they are around you? How does your spouse feel about her future with you or his future with you? Do they fear that you may at one point transgress? Do they fear that you may at one point use dirty tricks it's an important question to ask ourselves. Business partner, not just spouses, business partner, neighbors, and so on and so forth. How do they feel when they are around you? How do they feel concerning their future with you, their future relationship with you? Do they feel safe? Even the dogs. We have no problem with, we don't have any agenda against dogs or any vendetta against dogs. Dogs were created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have rulings concerning dogs. We don't keep dogs as pets and this and that. We keep them for good purposes, but we don't have any any bad feelings towards dogs. And then he said, وَمَحَبَّةُ الْخَلْقِ إِيَّاكَ. So after they feel safe, and this is important, and this will take a little bit of time. People may initially think that you're a little bit weird, you're a little bit just quirky, don't look right, look a little bit weird, act a little bit weird, but it will take them some time. And these late realizations, sort of like late phase, not early phase realizations, late realizations are more enduring than the early impressions. He's nice, he's very jovial, and you should be cheerful, and you should not be really depressing. But this is not it. This is enough to figure out who the person is. If they're just crack jokes and they're nice and casual in their sort of behavior, that is not enough. These realizations are the most important realizations. And they will be based on experience and true knowledge of the personality. So after a couple of years from marriage, you'll be able to tell, about your spouse. You may not be able to know everything about your spouse for several weeks, months, a couple of years, because there are certain things that you will have to figure out through experience. So once they feel safe, then they love you. Muhabbatul khalqi iyak, the creation's love of you, and this is something that you should be keen on. You should be keen on, earning their love, because ultimately you are his agent. You are his agent, and does he want his creations to love him? Does he want the creations to love him? Yes, he does. And you're working for him, you are his agent. So you will lead them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And unless they love the agent, they may not be able to reach the sender who commissioned you. And they will not be able to earn salvation through you. And that's the last thing that the Sheikh said, وَنَجَاتُ الْخَلْقِ بِكَ, the creation's salvation through you. And that is what we want for all people. We want eternity in the garden, in Jannah, for all people. And that is why we are keen on giving da'wah and reaching out and doing all this work. Not for self-gain, but for the people's welfare and well-being. Then the Sheikh said, الدرجة الثانية تحسين خلقك مع الحق وتحسينه منك أن تعلم. Okay, we are done with the creations. Now the Creator, al-Haq, the true one. The second level is perfecting your manners with the true one, and it is accomplished by knowing that, one, أن كل ما يأتي منك يوجب عذرا. Everything from you mandates your apology. It really is. And sometimes we may say, but we're really hard on ourselves. Like if I'm trying to do my best and trying to fight all the odds and struggle against myself, struggle against the environment around me that is really not conducive to righteousness and this and that, why should we be so hard on ourselves? You will not be too hard on yourself to the point, you should not be too hard on yourself to the point where you cause yourself despair, for sure. And that is not what the Sheikh wants, but the Sheikh wants you to understand your deficiencies, understand your failures, understand your faults, and recognize that you are defective. You are defective. Anything that comes from you shall also be defective, because you are defective, or you are deficient in many aspects. So everything that comes from you mandates your apology. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, once he finished his prayer, he would say, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. He just, once he finished what? His prayer. He would say, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. Because, whose prayer is that? The Prophet's prayer. Think about our prayer. And think about how, you probably want to spend the rest of your day just asking for forgiveness. So, كل ما يأتي منك يوجب عذرا. Everything that from you mandates your apology. وأن كل ما يأتي من الحق يوجب شكرا. Everything from the true one, al-Haq, mandates your gratefulness. Everything from him mandates your gratefulness. وَأَلَّا تَرَى لَهُ مِنَ الْوَفَاءِ بُدَّ, that you see that there is no salvation or rescue for you except through fulfilling his covenant. Fulfilling his covenant. الدرجة الثالثة, the third level, is التخلق بتصفية الخلق, refining the character through purification of the character. التخلق بتصفية الخلق, which is refining the character by purification of the character, or by purification. How do you do tasfiyat al-khuluq? The khuluq of generosity, for instance, karam, is, as we said before, on one side of this khuluq of generosity is what? Tabdhir, israf, wastefulness, extravagance, right? And on the other side is what? Bukhl and shuh, miserliness and stinginess. And you're trying to hit the golden mean in the middle. Hitting the golden mean, the right golden mean in the middle between the vices is basically what we call correctness. And then you're trying to do this in light of the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided to you in his book and through his messenger that he sent to you as a role model. Once you hit the golden mean, is there still room for improvement? Absolutely. Quantitative only? Like meaning more of the same only? Not only more of the same. Not only more generosity, but also to refine the generosity qualitatively, to work on this generosity. Ihsan. It is basically the perfection of this generosity in not only quantitatively, not only by just more of the same, but working on this generosity, working on how you demonstrate this generosity. And the most important aspect of this qualitative improvement, enhancement, promotion of the akhlaq is what? The niyyah. Your intention. Are you doing this for the right reason, for the right cause, for the right purpose or not? And if you're not doing it for the right purpose, your ceiling is very, very, very low. And if you're doing it for the wrong person, you know, you will be losing. But if you, and then more and more of the same is possible. More sincerity is possible, absolutely. More devotion is possible, absolutely. And then this is basically التصفية. This tasfiyah, as we said before, and maybe we'll address it with the second point here. Sheikh said, ثم الصعود عن تفرقة التخلق. ثم الصعود تخلق بتصفية الخلق is the first one. Refining the character through purification is the first one. And then he said, ثم الصعود عن تفرقة التخلق. Rising above the dispersion of تخلق, or refining the character. The dispersion at tafarruq, the dispersion is basically anything. It is being distracted by anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking the pleasure of Allah. Some people can be distracted by refining their character from Allah. True or not? But isn't it Allah who wanted you to refine your character? Yes. But you could then become consumed in refining your character. Are Muslims the only people who refine their character? No. You know, a lot of non-Muslims have more refined character than many Muslims. So does refining the character then mean that you're devoted to Allah? Not necessarily. What is the ultimate goal? The pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how could the refining of the character, which is something that Allah wants of you, be a distraction? It could certainly be a distraction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you could become too focused on this character, refining this character. We gave an example last time. You are a member of this board, of this organization, and then you tend to be a little bit, like we said last time, short-fused. And then you decide that I am not going to do anything in public. I'm not going to participate. I'm not a good team player. I'm not going to be part of any team because I don't have control, over myself. And then I'll just, stay home until I refine my character, until I have good control, until I have, until I master this. I will not go back into public life until I have absolute mastery of this particular aspect of my character, having the forbearance, hilm, and so on. And then you could spend the next few years trying to figure this out. And then, meanwhile, you could be busy going to work and coming back, working on your career, working on your family issues, and so on. And you may never come back to serve the community. You may never come back to serve the community in any capacity. Now, certainly, if you have no control over yourself, you do need to certainly work on it. But ultimately, it is about the balance of benefit and harm. Not for your own gains, not from your own self-serving perspective, but from Allah's serving perspective, from a God-serving perspective. Is it in the best interest of the community? Is it in the best interest of this organization? Is it in the best interest of Allah's cause that I withdraw from this? Or should I continue to be involved and continue to refine my character? Keep in mind, if we try to refine our character, if we abandon certain good deeds to refine our character first, that may be the sort of the most pernicious plan by the shaitan to keep you away from. If we sit down and figure out how to completely rid ourselves from our self-serving, we're extremely egotistical, extremely self-serving. We could sit down and figure out how, the charity that you gave in private, without anyone knowing, even your spouse, without even the recipient knowing, how it could still be self-serving, right? Yeah, and that is this is the sort of the hardest exercise, hardest spiritual exercise, riyada, which is to find true sincerity in our actions. Could be extremely debilitating unless you seek Allah's help and Allah's assistance and Allah's tawfiq. But if we do this and give up, good deeds, you may be even not only giving up good deeds that you do in public, you may be even giving up good deeds. This may be the shaitan's way to you to destroy you. You may be giving up good deeds that you do in private, in the darkness of your bedroom. You may be giving up because the shaitan may tell you all of this is basically to fit into your role as a good righteous person or this or that. It's still self-serving, it's still that. So don't get distracted by the refining of the character, even when it comes to something as important as devotion. Do your best, excel, do your best. Don't give up. Certainly, do not give up on this particular most important aspect, which is devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time, don't give up any good deed that you do for that. Continue to do that which is right, and continue to improve your niyyah. Okay. الصعود عن تفرقة التخلق, which is the rise above the dispersion of akhlaq. You're chasing all of those akhlaq, and now rise above that, and be in your jam'iyyat al-qalb ala Allah, or in your togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and make the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your most ultimate pursuit. And don't get distracted even by refining your own character. And then the Sheikh said, ثم التخلق بمجاوزة الأخلاق. Then refining the character by transcending, leaving behind one's character. Remember last time we talked about, how Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah were having this discussion about, the refining of the character and how it could be a distraction. And, if you get distracted killing all the snakes and the scorpions in your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those snakes and the scorpions could cause you distraction and slow you down. But unless they may catch up with you later and hurt you, leave them. Walk over them. Run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those snakes and the scorpions are your own deficiencies, your own faults, your own failures. If you try to address each one of them, it will be an endless pursuit, because our deficiencies and the evil traits that we have are endless, boundless. So it could be an endless pursuit to chase after each and every one of them. But sometimes there are those snakes that you need to kill, completely, or to sort of handicap them so that they don't catch up with you. And sometimes you just need to carry on. Sheikh is ultimately saying here, refining the character by transcending, leaving behind one's character. Because for the Sheikh, for Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah, we know this is the third level here, and the third level is about self-annihilation, self-dissolution, self-annihilation. You're not even here to refine your character. Whose character if you're not here? Right? So this is what he means by transcending, التخلق بمجاوزة الأخلاق, refining the character by transcending, leaving behind one's character. If you're still refining your character, it means that you're still here, right? Refining your character. It means that there is still Hassan or Ali or Fatima. But, at this level, which is the ultimate level, self-annihilation, now there is no Hassan, Ali, or Fatima anymore, because they vanished in the pleasure of their Lord, and they only subsist for him and by him we've talked about this several times in the past, and then repeating it again, it may not necessarily be warranted at this point. But we will come back and talk more and more and more about this particular concept of fana, because there are certain things, fatalism, fana, zuhd, and what we should, how we should perceive it. There are certain things that are important for us to clarify and to have the proper understanding of, so that this journey becomes not only a journey of devotion, but also a journey of correctness and authenticity, compliant with the revelation, with the wahy, with the Quran and the Sunnah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.